know, it,
Chassidus says that all the Teichochis is the biggest bracha. Chassidus says that the biggest brachas, that's why in the Likkutei Torah, also here in Savo, there's different Amorim to show that Lafia Emes and Rak brachas. The Alter Rebbe brings the Gemara in Moed Choten. Reb Shimon Yochai, his son, said he wants a bracha, and he sent him to two of the big chachomim, and they told him things that sounded like terrible things. And he came home, and his father told him, "No, everything they told you was really big brachas." So it says that because it was so big, they came out, they looked like lolas, so really they were big brachas. And kimat on every one of the teichochas, there's a bir api chassidus, how that is really a big bracha. The Rebbe said, Leisata, he didn't find, on the last posuk in the teichocha, he didn't find that there should be a bir chassidus to explain how this is really a big bracha. So in the Fabrengen and Parshas Kisavoi, the Rebbe gave a biur how this is a pi chassidus, the biggest bracha there is. So let's first do the pasuk, the Rashi, the Rebbe's biur and Rashi, and then this is a huge bracha. The last pasuk in the Teichocha, Vayshivcha Hashem Mitzrayim Bonius, V'terech asher amarti l'chol loisois v'oid liroisa, v'yismakartem shom loivecho la'avodim v'lishvoches ve'in koina. That's the last pasuk, that the Eibishter will send you back to Egypt with boats on the road that I told you, you will not see this road again. You will be sold there to your enemy as slaves, ve'in koina, no one's going to buy it. And then, Eilu Divrei Abrisa Shetziv Hashem Moshe Lichres Es Bnei Yisrael Beretz Mayav Melvad Abrisa Shekoras Itom Bechorei. This is Shishi. The Shishi, the Aliyah is a very, very big Aliyah.
Balkur and some kids.
That's why the Balkur gets it.
I mean, if someone want to buy it, it's a trade. It's
Sagt der Rashi, Bioniyo, he's Besfinas Beshivya. That Onius is Sfinas, and it's Bashivya. Choydem, it's the Vapashit. Onius is Sfinas, and Sfinas are Onius, we know that. Vis Makartem Shom Loibecha, Atem Evakshim Lisnim Koram Lahem Lavadim Lashvachas, Vein Koina. Vis Makartem doesn't mean that they're going to sell you. You would like to be sold, Rahman al-Islam. However, Vein Koina, why is there Vein Koina? Not because no one wants to buy. Smakartem belaz, whatever that word is, okay, so let's read what the commentary say on Rashi. Mizrachi says, Bonius besfinis of Ashivya. Ois milish bashivya, bahu shebezula ze ein zuklola. Im yeshuv im asfinis b'mitzrayim. Rashi explain what's the klola that a person is going on a boat to Mitzrayim. So he says it's Beshivya. But Mizrachi still didn't explain why Rashi has to say that Onius means Finas. Then if it's Makartam Shamatam Vakshum listening Koram Lamal Avodim. So then Mizrachi says, Kebinyan is Paul Gerda Al Hamnesuv Hapula La'atzmi. Kimoy, he's Savisim Lachem, and he's Nachalta. Ve'ilu hoya mechrosa and dem mechreim hoya roi elias v'nimkartem. V'nimkartem is mebinya nifa. Nimkartem means someone else is going to sell. V'hismakartem means that you're selling yourself.
sure, yeah.
V'nimkartem means you're being sold by someone else. Nifal. Someone else is making it happen. But he's makartem, he's spoiled, you're yourself doing it. That is someone else is selling. Void im yeh, that's one thing. It's in the diktuk of the words. Void im yeh pirish vis makarta mit dem mochrim yechuyev mizeh shiyu koine meschem in mechrechem. If there's a seller, there's a buyer. That's a funny, but that's what he's saying. If there's a seller, there's a buyer. Like they say, there's a fool born every day. And so if there's a seller, there's a buyer. If someone's selling it, someone's buying it. And there's if there's a seller, there's a buyer. Obviously, if he's selling and no one's buying, he's not selling. So if he's in the business to sell, obviously he has customers. So what's up Shab Ein Koina? Because of him Ein Koina. In Ken Yechuyu Mezeh Behechrech Sheyeh Pirish V'Ismakartem Shedavak Shali Mocher V'Lo Tuchlu B'nei Shein Koina.
It's a real bashful.
Yeah.
Nobody wants you.
Right.
That's exactly what he's saying.
Right. The interesting is that Rabbeinu Chaim said Pshat of Rashi. Makartem Tavak Shali Snim Koina Vein Koina Zomida Toiva. Rashi says it's the worst of the worst. Because Rashi says Vein Koina means like the reason they can't buy is because Rahman al-Islam, the Jews will be killed. So they don't want to buy because they know that Jews are going to be killed in a minute. Why should they buy them as a slave? Sif Secham says Besfinas Bashevya. Oiz of Milu Bashivya Bahur Zula Zain Zuklolo. In Yeshuvim Mitzrayim. We learned that already in the Mizrahi. Oiz a Klolo Yosem Mishaim Elichem Beregolim. And the Sfina is worse than walking in the feet. Shum dezer maka kosher shoyim atzmam nidboim bayom. Kamashematzinu ba'arbe meis yilodim shetov atzmam bayom. Why is it so bad to go on a boat? So Gemara's in Gittin tells a story that there were 400 young children that were on a boat. Huh? No. The 400 little children in a boat. And they realized that the reason they're taking them is to sell them for Advar Aveda. And first the girls and then the boys all jumped into the ocean, they killed themselves. And the Baskel said that they're going to be Zoichet at Tfis HaMeisa. And I think a little bit of this story in the Gemara is mentioned in one of the Kinas in Tisha B'Av. Kaponim, it doesn't seem like the Pashut of Shat and Rashi that's what Rashi is saying. That that's the issue of why Sfinas is bad. So there's a few shilas. Why does Rashi not learn like that Rabbeinu B'chai? The Vein Koin is a Midah Toiva. Rashi learns it's the worst of the worst. Why does Rashi have to translate the Onis means Sfinas? And what's Taka? What's the big deal of they going B'Sfinas or not B'Sfinas? So
why Rashi says Sfinas? What came to his mind?
Right. So first, just go through three nekudas that Meforshim say that the Rebbe says doesn't fit in Rashi. The Barbanel says that why is the Pasuk says that this was a road I said you shouldn't go in. What does that mean? The Eibusha said you're not allowed to go back to Mitzrayim.
Right.
But the Eibusha said that's only if you're walking on the road. If you're walking in a boat, it's mutter.
That's why Rashi said.
That's what Rashi. Yeah. Pshat, it's not true. Then there's a medrash that says that loy toisef liroisa, but through the faith, even though the Eibusha promised that they're not going to go back to Mitzrayim, through the faith, the Eibusha is going to make them go to Mitzrayim. Pshat also, it's a very schwach to answer that way. Because this is the Eibusha said not go back to Mitzrayim was not a haftocha, it's a tzivui. It's a mitzvah, you're not allowed to go back to Mitzrayim. So it's a little schwach to say, the Eibusha promised that he's never going to take you back, and now he's taking you back.
I was in Mitzrayim and during the Am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Balatois will say, Bonius is a terrible thing, because beregel you can only take gedolim b'shivya, but ketanim you can't take beregel. But through a svina you can take also ketanim b'shivya. The Rebbe says some pshatas that every child that learned about the Churban Beis Hamikdash knows, in the first and the second Churban Beis Hamikdash, families, mothers, children, they go slowly, but they go by foot. They can go from one end of the world to the other in the world. Rahman al-Islam. So all 3 points are very shvach in Rashi. And we're back to all the questions we asked. Why does it actually have to say the opposite of Rabbeinu B'chai? And Rabbeinu B'chai tries to say a good thing. Vein Kohen is a midatov, and Rashi is all of a sudden, it sounds like Rashi is making things not so good. Okay. The Rebbe says first the pshat. You have to understand. The Rebbe says there's a long teichocha. The last pasuk is obviously the worst of the worst, right? When you say teichocha, you don't give the biggest punishment. If it's not going to work, we'll give you a smaller punishment. If it's not going to work, we give you the smallest punishment. That's not the way teichocha works. Teichocha works the punishment. If it's not going to work, you give you a fine for $50. If you go in the bus lane a second time, you get $100. A third time, $200. Doesn't work the other way around. You go in the bus lane, the first time is $200, then $100, and then $50, then $1. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. Right? Tickets, they go up, they don't go down. So obviously the last pasuk in the Teichocha must be the biggest, the worst Teichocha. Well, there's a lot of very bad Teichochas. This must be, so to say Zumida Toiva doesn't make sense to Rashi. Zumida Toiva, forget this. It's the worst of the worst. It's the biggest, this is the last one of the Teichochas. Rashi learns that every word in this pasuk is adding a little more to the pain of this Teichocha. Mitzrayim, Rashi says earlier, Kol Madve Mitzrayim Asher Yogorta, that the Eibishter will give them Chas Shalom Madve Mitzrayim Asher Yogorta. Rashi says, Ein Misyorin La'odin Elo Ema Sheyoger Lefonov. That if you tell a person, if you're gonna get klept like they give on the moon. He doesn't know what kind of klep they give on the moon. They're not scared of that. But if you tell him Azoy that you're gonna have klep the way the Malamed gave you in third grade, oh, that he knows. Azoy, that he knows. So that he's scared because he knows what that is. Okay. So number one is Veishiv Cheshem Mitzrayim. Yidden were Mitzrayim. They know it's a very painful place. Be honest. So Rashi says Bashevi. Why? Because the truth is, Api Pshat, you could be doichik. B'onius is Maloshin Ta'aniya V'aniya. Tsar V'yalola. But Rashi doesn't want to say. That's what he says. No, that onius over here means sfinas. Why? Because Bashevi, there could be many ways the way a person goes Bashevi. The Rebbe says, Bermuchish, a child knows that avodim that are transferred b'sfina, that's the worst of the worst of the worst. Anyone knows a little bit of American history, any child that learned a little bit of American history, and how the avodim ended up coming in sfinas from Africa to the United States of America, knows that that part of the journey was the most painful part for the avodim. When they were already here in America, even if they were down south in a plantation, as they say in Yiddish, lo nora. But in the boats, so they would have them shackled. They would have the avodim. It was terrible. Thank you. The thing that the Schwarzes don't want to tell is the people that sold the Schwarzes into slavery. The Schwarzes sold the Schwarzes, not the Weisses sold the Schwarzes. And it was a terrible thing. They would go, among the Schwarze Adayim in Africa, they
fight.
Yeah.
The Shvatim would those fight. Look today.
Sudan.
So a stronger Shevet would take the weaker, and they would sell them into slavery. And the boat was the worst experience. In the boat, they would shackle them. A lot of times, by the time the boat got to the United States of America, Chelek Godel of the Avodim were already auf jener Welt, nicht auf der Welt. Because they would shackle them. They were very much under it was mamish like a Beisa Asurim. When Eved is working in the field, so very hard to shackle him. You want him to work in the field. So his hands are not tied, his feet are not tied, he sleeps in a barrack, he has a bed, he give him to eat. He's not geschmack to be an Eved, but when he's in a Sfina, he's mamish in a Beis Asurim. And the Regilus throughout history was when they transported Avodim Sfinas, it was with unbelievable cruelty. So the people in charge of the Sfinas were, very cool. They would shackle the avodim one to the other. They would give them hardly anything to eat. Because why waste money to give them to eat? A few will die, I'll throw them overboard again. When a guy is trying to work in his field,
You have to feed him.
you gotta feed him. You're not gonna feed him. But in the boat, they hardly fed them. They didn't give them the minimal human needs. Didn't allow them to go out to the bathroom. And then the boat shakes from side to side. So a person could stand, could hold on to a chair, to a table. A person could brace himself. They couldn't brace themselves. They were for a few months in boats, and they were going up and down, and always gebracht, ein af and zweiten. Again, they made their human needs, ein af and zweiten's cup. Rachmana litzlan, it was very, very painful. So that's what Rashi's saying. That Rashi learning that the Repashtas, the last pasuk of the Tachaf, is the worst. So that Rashi is saying that it's Ve'eshiv Hashem Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim, the Eden know that Mitzrayim is a terrible place. Ba'oniya zakt Rashi, not Taniya va'aniya. Ba'oniya means besifinois, in boats. Bashivya, that's why it's very painful, because a child knows that when the Schwarzes came to the United States of America, besifinois, it was very painful. So it's a big teichocha, it's a moire dike teichocha. And the pasuk continues, like I mentioned before, that that's why the child already knows. When we learned in the pasuk, and the Eden that were there know there was a midbar, a godel, va'anoide, nochosh, soda, v'yakre, v'tzemoin, asher moyim. The Eibush made miracles for the Jews. But now the Eibush is saying in the Teichacha that this midbar agodol va'anoide nochosh soda v'yakre v'tzemona shenei moyin, that Rachmana litzlan, that they're going to go back to Egypt like the Schwarzes in the boats, and like Rachmana litzlan, the people that are going on these terrible midbar agodol va'anoide nochosh soda v'yakre without any protection. So it's a moiridike teichacha. It's a moiridike teichacha. The pasuk continues with the ultimate of teichacha. Rismakartem shom loivecha lavodim l'shvoches. Rashi says rismakartem means not that you're going to be sold. Kartem. Rismakartem means Rachmana litzlan, they're in such pain. They would wish to be sold. To who? To who? Loivecha. To your enemies. Things are so bad. Their biggest wish in life is that they should be sold to their enemies as a slave. $1 million? No. He wants to be sold as a slave to the enemy. That's already the best. That's how bad it is.
It's the worst of the worst.
Exactly. That's the worst of the worst of the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And Vein Koine is the worst, mamish the worst, that no one would pay a nickel or a dime for a Jewish slave, because they know the Jews are going to be killed in a few minutes. So therefore, the anguish is unbelievable, and that's why it's the worst. That's the last of the teichoch. This is in Pshat, and this now we understand how Rashi learns. That's why Rashi learns the opposite of Rabbeinu Chai. Rabbeinu Chai says Umid Toiva, but Rashi says when he means Umid Toiva, it's the last of the teichoch. He learns it's the biggest Puranis, and every word in this pasuk is more Puranis than the word before. Ve'shivcha means they're going to go to Mitzrayim, which is a terrible thing, even though Mitzrayim is terrible. Ba'onius is like the Schwarzes came to the United States of America, Besfinas, Beshevia. B'derech HaShemartech Aloisoisa Ve'leiroisa, which is Nochash Sora Ve'akrav, B'tzemoin HaShemoin, V'smakartem, Shem Levecha Lavodim L'shvochis means that they're chalishing, that their best thing would be to be sold to the enemies for slave. Ve'in Koine Rachmana litzlan means that there's no value for a Jewish slave. Now let's learn the Pshat. It's not the Chassidus. The Rebbe said he never saw a Maimer on it, so he wants to say Pshat of Chassidus. The Rebbe says if you look weiter in Parshat Nitzavim, it says the whole Teichoch is not Chas v'Shalom to make a Yid uncomfortable. The whole Teichoch is to encourage Yid to do tshuva. What's the meaning of tshuva? Tshuva is, we say, v'makim shabal tshuva emdim, tzedek m'gemurim enem chelam lamed, gedol tshuva shizdanis nasla kezachuyas. But there's a big mile in Avodas Hashem of tshuva. Chassidus says that the mile of tshuva is that and then the Tzutzis Kedusha, which fall very deep, which a tzaddik can't pick up, about tshuva could pick up. And the highest Tzutzis Kedusha fall in the lowest place, about tshuva could pick them up. So that's the Pashup Shat in Chassidus, the Pashup Shat in Chassidus, that he comes to a place of Mitzrayim.
It's not the water beach, but sure.
Exactly. Veshivcha means Vishor, they just tshuva. And Mitzrayim, how does Yid go? Why does the Pasuk say that a Yid is not supposed to go Mitzrayim? So that Yisrael says, because why should a Jew go to any place? Why is a Jew going somewhere?
After Mevar and
Tzeit. Mitzrayim, also Kimetzul, L'Sheim Badogim, Ve'im Badogim. So there's nothing to go back to Tzutzis Kedusha, so therefore not allowed to go there.
This way Chabad go all over the world.
Exactly, to pick up Tzutzis Kedusha. So what? But then we say, Iyata Choyze Shom L'Shtakeya, Havlata Choyze Shom L'Prakmatya, Ve'im Kov Shemelch Yisrael, the Rambam says Yirol L'Shemute. In Kov Shemelch Yisrael. Yeah. And the Lashon is, No, he says, Oive B'chol Yom, Gimel Avin.
I am the one that
Oive B'chol Yom.
the bottom that is in Egypt.
Right. So the Rebbe says, Pashtus, the reason why, what does it mean about pragmatia? The Rebbe says, what's pragmatia? Pragmatia means is not real estate. Usually pragmatia means shmatas, table, widgets.
From here in
That there's Negoyim that brought Netzutas Kedusha from all the Medinas into the Medina of Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim Gufa, Lish Takeya, to buy real estate. No, because there's no more Netzutas Kedusha there. Also, Kemetzula Shein Badoga. But the pragmatia, to buy rolls of schoida or boxes of screws and nails. So maybe the guy from Sudan brought it over here to Mitzrayim. So there's a Netzutas Kedusha really from a different Medina. So therefore, the pragmatia, you're allowed to go back.
But you can't go back to where you took the horses.
Right.
So,
Okay. Good catch.
right,
Right, that was a Shlomo sin. So the Siddur says, so the Rebbe says that the pshat is that they're going to go back to Mitzrayim to be mevarer the extra Netzutas Kedusha that are there. And the Yid is going to want to be, and the mile of Tshuva is so strong that a Yid gets elevated. Not only the Netzutas Kedusha, the Chefza, but the Gavra, the person gets elevated. The Yid gets elevated so much, it becomes an Eved Hashem, Vismakartem Shom, that a Yid gets sold as a slave. There's two ways. There's a tzaddik al Hashuva. A tzaddik gets sold malamayla. Why is it sold malamayla? Because they give him malamayla a big cheshik in his avodas Hashem. But a Baal Tshuva does not have a big cheshik in avodas Hashem.
okay.
It says own avodah. Ismakartem, not vinim kartem al yedei acherim. V'ismakartem, you're selling yourself as to be an Eved Hashem. Not they're selling you malamayla. Now what's Rav Ve'ein koina? Koina is atzilus. Ayin is lamayla. Ein mazel yisrael. Ayin mazel yisrael. That vismakartem shom, that a Baal Tshuva is not vinim kartem. The Baal Tshuva has a maila that he himself is get pulled to Avodas Hashem, and therefore he gets the level of ayin, which is higher than the level of kinyan, which is atzilus. So it's an unbelievable avodah. And then we say ve'ein koina. Rashi says that ein koina means that what? Terrible. It sounds a peep shot that herig v'kiloin a pi chassidus. It says that ben meya kilo meis over a bottle min. Person tells he's 100 years old. Tell me I get a word. Like the Batchem Chaim Melu said. Every person he meets, he says, "Bis 120." He met an old Yid in a nursing home. He said, "How old are you?" He says, "I'm 120. Today's my birthday." How about getting tug? So what are we telling the Ben Meya? That is an over bottle, and kilo maize over a bottle min oilam. Siddur says nachas v'sholem. It means, it says lo yirani adam v'choy v'chayim enem roim misosem roim. That b'chayim they can't see the Eibishter because they're bal guf. But b'misosem roim. They say a Ben Meya, which is a Oived Hashem. When it comes to Ben Meya, Ilumes. So he was Zoiche already Bechayev to have Chayim Einam Roim, B'moisem Roim. These people that are 100 years old, Ziknet Tamid Chachamim, even when they're alive, they're Zoiche to have a certain Gila and a Kuz, which usually a person can only have that after they died. So that's the same shot here. V'nismakartem, that a Yid will sell himself to be an Eved Hashem, and he'll get to the highest level of Ein Koina, to the level as if Ki'ilu Meis, Ki'ilu over a bottle min ha'olam, that he's mamish in a higher level. That's something that usually a person would have to be not alive. He would have to lose his gashmis the kabari to be zeichet to see this gili lekuz. These yidden that are b'mailas b'alitshuva, while they're alive and they have a physical body, they're ready zeichet to see the Eibishter in that unbelievable way. And that's the Rebbe's pshat. And the Rebbe says that's why it's besfinas. Onius, first of all, the Rebbe says, because there's a Maimonim from there's a Torah of Hashem to Yerde Yom Be'onius, and if a Yid wants to go into this world, he has to protect himself. Just like when you go into the ocean, you have to go into a boat. So the protection of a Yid is the Torah mitzvahs. That's the Onius. There is Onius and Sfinis. What's the difference? Onius and Sfinis. Onius is Lashon Kodesh. Teva. But usually we say Onius or Sfinis. Onius and Lashon Kodesh and Sfinis and Lashon Targum. So Rashi is saying that the Onius, there also has, even in Targum, which is the union of the 70 nations, so even Mahapach Likkutei, the union of the Losh of the 70 nations. That's how many Tutz Kedusha Yid is Maila. It's unbelievable shot. So the last
Sfinis is Lashon Aramik, right?
Yeah, and Oni is Lashon Kodesh. Even Sfinis,
Aramik one,
the Yid will be Maila Likkutei. So here the Rebbe has a pshat in the last posuk in the Teichocha that Apirtzidis, that it's the biggest Maila. Yeah, that the Veshivcha is Maloshin, Veshav Hashem Lakecha, that he does tshuva. And he's going to Mitzrayim to get the last few Netzutz Kedusha. And there's Onias and the Sfinis, which a Yid goes in order to protect himself, to pick up the last. And then, when we say this, Makartam Lavodah Mishmachas, the Yid becomes an Eved Hashem, and he sells himself, not like a tzaddik that the Eibishter pulls him. He himself pulls himself, and he's zoichet to have ein koina, that the Eibishter, ein mazel Yisrael is koina. And Rashi says, what's the pshat ein koina? Rashi says the pshat is that it's hereg v'kiloin, koltze kenavshi l'Hashem, that he has such, he's like a kala, he has such kalois nefesh, that even though he's still alive, he's zoiche to be alive and still have kalois nefesh. It's an unbelievable thing.
So this whole shot by the Rebbe puts, normally we say Golas is the biggest kola, and saying that it brings out the nitzosis of
the last
world,
big
the biggest kola, there's a
turns into the biggest bracha.
We don't see it, but
So my love about tshuva. So tonight I was telling my children, they were sitting by the table, talking about Zaidi, my father-in-law, his stories. So I said, what's with the story with the half a cup of orange juice? I love that story. A half a cup of orange juice.
said it to me in the shop.
Yeah. I see, you know the story with the half a cup of orange juice? Huh?
We have to remind you.
Remind you the story? My father-in-law said he went on shlichus many years ago to London, Ontario, with another Talmud yeshiva, and they were going the summer for Mecca shlichus. The Rebbe had told them, Dr. Block, to be a professor in London, Ontario. He was a professor in philosophy, and so Dr. Block said that there was a Yid that he would like that the shluchim should come visit him, because the Yid is very angry. He was very angry at Dr. Block. What happened? This Yid was selling steel to the Canadian government for many years. Very rich, and he had a big company. So he ayoim, and the Canadian government accused him that he was cheating them. That he was cheating.
The weight was different.
And B'meila, there was a thing against him. All the lawyers told him that it's a joke. 95% chance that he's going to win the court case. But what? there's 5% chance that he'll lose. So Rabbi Block asked him, would you like that I would write to the Lubavitcher Rebbe asking for a bracha? So sure. So Dr. Block wrote to the Rebbe asking a bracha for this Jew. The Rebbe said they should check his tefillin. So Dr. Block came to the Yid and he said, what? My tefillin? Very good tefillin. I'm not interested. So Dr. Block went to Yid's wife and he told her the thing that Lubavitcher Rebbe said to check the tefillin. He said, don't worry. When he goes to work, I'll give you the tefillin. He wanted quickly that the tefillin should be checked quickly. So he booked the ticket personally. He went on a plane from London, Ontario to Toronto, where there's a sofer. And he had the sofer right away pick up and open up the tefillin. And they opened the tefillin, they took out the pashas. Oh, apostle. So Dr. Black said, you know what? Instead of buying new pashas, buy him Cadillac pair of tefillin. We'll buy him a nice pair of tefillin, and I'll give him a gift. The Yid should have a kosher pair of tefillin. He came to the Yid's office, and he told him that he checked his tefillin. It's possible, but he brought him a Cadillac pair of tefillin. What? You went behind my back, and you stole my tefillin? He was so angry. I'm not putting on tefillin altogether. Okay.
He wasn't angry in his wife.
I guess his anger is that too.
Behind his back. Good one.
He lost the case. He was Nebuch in such turmoil that he had a nervous breakdown and he was hospitalized. Now they were waiting for sentencing. But there was a possibility to appeal the judgment. But all the lawyers said now there was a 95% chance that he would lose. Maybe a 5% chance that he would win. So Dr. Block suggested that the Talmidei Yeshiva, the Bochum tonight, by the way, is the Siasis of Yeshiva's Temple of about 180 years. What was it? 150 years, 148 years, 150 years. It's now Siasis of Temple. So he said, maybe we can, maybe you guys will break the ice. So he called the businessman. He said that there are two shluchim, Lubavitcher Rebbe. They would like to meet him. Okay, come over to the office. As a rich man back then, he already had the newest gadget, which is a little beverage fridge, which you buy today in Costco, for $49.49. Not a big deal. Back then was some big chivas he had in his office. He had a little beverage fridge, and when they came to visit him, he opened up the refrigerator. He took out a bottle of Tropicana, and he gave every one of the bochum. He gave them a half a cup of orange juice, and he said, "I'm giving you a half a cup of orange juice because it's worth a half a heart." It was broiges. They sat down, they spoke to him, they told him stories of the Rebbe, and they told him about the importance of wearing tefillin. He said, we brought you the pair of tefillin from Dr. Block. He agreed to put on the tefillin. Put on the tefillin, he said, Shema. He suggested that he keep this tefillin and he put it on every day. He said, you know what? I agree. I'm going to put on every day. They said, let's make l'chaim. And the Davish is going to help. This chus that the Rebbe's brocha, the Rebbe gave you a brocha. Now that you did tshuva, you're listening to the Rebbe, and you're starting to put on tefillin every day, the Davish is going to give, that you're going to be victorious. Let's make l'chaim. So the man went back to the fridge, and he took out the Tropicana orange juice, and he filled up the cup to the top. He says, now I'm giving it to you with a full heart. And they made l'chaim, gave him a bracha. He decided he's going to put on tefillin every day. He won the case. Against all the odds, he won the case. On appeal, he got the lawyer. He appealed and he won the case. The original verdict was overturned. Baruch Hashem, it was Didan Otzach. So, anyway, this is the mile of tshuva. The mile of tshuva is a moed de kamayla. even the deepest netzutzes of kedusha, which are hard to pick up, about tshuva picks up, and not only the chefza gets picked up, but the gavra, the yid himself, gets picked up in the most unbelievable way. About tshuva has an unbelievable aliyah. So they shall often every one of us should be zoichetake. So Shemit, Hashem, should begin of tshuva, the shall often b'shavah shel loketa with a full cup of orange juice.
Or even more, a full cup of vodka.
Let's have both.
Tell that
Let's have.
with a cup of orange juice as a prop. Your father-in-law?
I don't know. I don't.
The way he said like
It's a good prop.
No.
And you can tell that to children and say you give it even to each kid.
Right.
You know, a 5-year-old. You're not going to give a cup of vodka to a 5-year-old, but the cup of orange juice you can get away with.
No, I think he says it and he means it. But we could have a full cup of vodka, like the Rebbe sometimes would go like this, and then we'll have a chaser. We'll have a full cup of orange juice. Last night, at the end of the Mlava Malka, I mean, first of all, thank you for everyone that came. It was the most beautiful event that we've ever had in Beis Menachem. Ever.
It's true. Soon we'll have it in the new basement.
Yes, it's Hashem. I think it was the nicest event we've ever had. And
Who's the caterer?
Who's the caterer? My daughter.
You did everything?
Everything.
Wow.
Everything. And the guy, the camera guy, also did everything. This guy, Yemenite guy,
Especially
the lights, everything.
It's unbelievable.
Last night we made a Malava Malka.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, we sent out an email. So at the end, the one thing we didn't have was wine. So our Kohen Shmuley Friedman took a full kois of vodka, and he drank a roiv kois of the vodka, and then he got up and everyone danced, and it was also the simcha. Okay, David shall help him that we should do it with a full heart. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. Okay, thank you everyone that's joining us.
That's what we love.
Okay, l'chaim, l'chaim.